Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. How have you guys been? Did you have a good week? I had a really great week. Last week I was talking about how I was getting ready to go to Toronto and set up my booth for the Toronto Knitters Frolic, and I did, and we had the show and it was wonderful as always, and thank you so much if you came by my booth to say hi. It was a great show. So now my prep load has lessened quite a bit. All I have now is a trunk show next weekend at the Knitting Basket for Mother's Day weekend, and I have a new show in the Kawartha area on June 9th. So after that, I'm good for the summer, although Avery's home, so I don't know how much is going to get done, but yes, so I'm almost back to my regular knitting schedule, and it has just been wonderful. So what do I have for you this week? I have a finished object. I have progress on the 2 projects that I talked about last week that I was going to start. I've started those. I have my new collection, and then I actually have something new to talk about. So as a thank you to everybody who watches and comments and participates and engages with this podcast, and then also to those who actually check out the shop and order an item or two, I've decided that every month I'm going to offer a little thank you, and I've gone through all the comments from the videos that I did in April, and I've gone through all the orders that I got in April, and I've done a random draw, and so the winner is going to get a $20 coupon to use in my shop, and I'm going to do this every month. So if you comment, you'll get an entry, and if you place an order in my shop, each item that you order will get an entry. So the winner for April was a YouTube comment, and the winner is Sheila Brown. So I don't really have a way of contacting you, so if you're watching, send me a message through Ravelry or through my shop contact. There's a contact form in there, and I will give you a coupon code that you can use at any time. There's no expiry, but you have to contact me, so that's that. So let's get started. I'm just going to have a quick sip of my tea like usual. I'm drinking my new tea. So last week I was saying how I was expecting an order any day, and it came the very next day. Yeah, it came that night, so it came Friday, and I am drinking that tea. So I'm having some chocolate hazelnut today, and the place I ordered from is called Citizen Tea, and it's not bad. It's not bad. The reason that I chose to order from them is because they offered these little sample sizes, so I didn't have to get 50 grams of every flavor I wanted to try and then end up not liking that flavor and then having all this extra tea, because I'm trying not to have a lot of stuff around that I don't need, right? So they offered these little sample sizes, which I really liked. And then with every order, you get additional samples. So this is the samples that you can purchase, and then these are the little free samples. These are basically like 1 cup. These are maybe 3 or 4 cups. So today I'm having the chocolate hazelnut, and it's pretty good. I'm going to keep trying the flavors I ordered, and I may place another order once I run out of those. We'll see. So that's that, and let's get started on some knitting, shall we? So my finished object. I said I was going to try and get these done for this week, and I did. Oh my goodness, it was so much fun. So I finished my stripes and stranded socks. Aren't they pretty? Oh, I love these so much. So these are a pattern by Carmen from the New Leaf podcast, and basically what she's done is it's a pattern that uses a self-striping yarn. So the blue and the gray are a self-striping from White Birch Fiber Arts, and then you combine that with a solid or a semi-solid of another. So this one here is a Vomise, and she gives you all these charts that you can just plunk in as you're doing the stripes, and it just makes the socks look so complicated, like you did so much work on them, but you really didn't. These knit up so fast. I did these in a month, and I've been working on other projects, and I finished other socks. So that's pretty good for me. And I've said before, I'm not really a colorwork knitter, so the fact that I got these done in a month, I think is really good. And I'm so tempted to cast on another pair, but I'm not going to yet. I have other things I'm working on, but I'm so tempted to, and I've even picked out some of my yarn that I really would like to do it with. I think the White Birch Fiber Arts is perfect because the stripes are just a little bit wider, so you have a little bit more room to play with your charts. But yeah, so I'm really happy with these. I mentioned before for the fit, I cast on, it's a toe-up pattern, and I cast on and did the foot with the smaller size in the pattern. She gives you 2 sizes to go by. And then right around the heel, I increased the difference of those 2 sizes so that I was doing the larger size up the leg. And these fit me really well. They're more of a comfy sock than like a form-fitted like sock that I would wear in footwear, but they're really comfortable. The one thing I would say is I think if I were to do these again, I would definitely still increase to the next size up for the leg, but I would probably do it after the heel because it's a short row heel in the pattern. It's a German short row heel. This is the first time I've ever done that, and I really liked it. But by doing some of the increases before, it gave me a deeper heel, which I knew and which I wanted. But having finished them now, I don't think I needed that deeper heel, so there's a little bit of extra room around here. So I think next time I'm just going to do the increases after the heel so that the leg is bigger and the foot is smaller, but the heel is more of the smaller size. So that's that. I'm really happy with these. If you have any desire to try some ColorWORK socks, I highly recommend you try this pattern. It's a lot of fun. You work the body of the sock on bigger needles, so it goes really fast, and you just feel like so accomplished because you get so much done in so little time. I think last time I was up on the leg on the second sock, and I finished the whole rest of the sock in one day. So I think it was 2 sessions, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, but I finished the whole leg of the sock in one day. So such a fast, fun pattern. So these are done. And I finished them just in time for barefoot weather. We finally have some warm weather now, and I'm in my sandals. I don't like wearing shoes and socks, so as soon as it's warm enough that my toes don't freeze, I'm back in my sandals, and I finished these just in time for sandal weather. But that's okay. I'll put them aside, and they'll be all ready for when that cool, crisp air comes back in the fall. Okay? So that's those. I'm so happy with them. They fit into, if you've decided to work on that pattern as well, they fit into the ColorWORK-IT KAL, or the ColorWORK-IT KAL that I'm doing in the Bling Your String group on Ravelry. Any ColorWORK project can work, and it's going to be at least 3 months, so at least the end of July, I think I said, and any ColorWORK project. Basically, if you are manipulating at least two different colors, could be more, in a project that's not just striping, like you can't just stripe your yarn and say that's ColorWORK. So I'm allowing stranding, intarsia, mosaic knitting, I think brioche, why not, any kind of color work. You can put your item, any item, big or small, into the ColorWORK-IT KAL and Bling Your String. And then my next project is also a ColorWORK project. I talked about this last week. I was going to start the Passerine hat, and it's basically, it's like a very simple hat that just has a ColorWORK stranded section with a bird motif, and I love birds, so I've been wanting to do this project forever. It's been in my queue for at least 3 years, and I'm finally going to do it. And then this also works towards my bingo goals, because this will check off my box for knitting 3 hats this year, and this will be my 3rd hat. So I started this project, and it has changed slightly from when I talked about it last week. Last week I showed the yarn, and I was going to use a gray single ply sock yarn that I had in my stash, and then I was going to pair it with a green Tosh Merino Light mini that I got in a swap. And I started it. I started it this week, and I cast on with the gray, and after just a few rows, something just wasn't sitting with me, and I kept looking at it, and I kept looking at it, and I was just like, oh, I don't know if I like this, you know, but it'll be fine. Just keep going. It'll be fine. And I've learned. Here is a knitting PSA for you. If you ever are working on a project and you keep stopping and thinking and pausing and thinking something's not right, and then you tell yourself it'll be fine, stop right there and either fix it or rip it out or do whatever that is making you have second thoughts, because it's not going to be fine. I've learned in the past that if I keep going, I'm just not happy with the finished project, and I have wished that I had changed whatever I was going to change. So I actually have what I started with the gray. I didn't rip it out, I just cut it off my needles and started again. And what was bothering me, I'll see if you can see, this is how much I got done. And so only this much, and I was already, something wasn't right. And I'll put it over my pale face here, and you can see how loose those stitches are. You see that? You see how you can see through the stitches? And I mean, this is a hat, and I was already using smaller needles than the pattern called for the brim, and my gauge, I usually don't have any problems with my gauge. Like, my gauge is usually spot on to whatever the typical gauge for a certain yarn is. So I was already using smaller needles, and it was just very holy. And I'm doing a double brim instead of the ribbed brim that the pattern calls for. And so part of me was just like, oh, you know, once it's doubled, it'll be fine. But then I was thinking, once I get to the body of the hat is not doubled. And so it didn't seem like it was going to be very practical to have the body of the hat with such a loose gauge. And I didn't want to go down any further. I think I'm using 3.25 needles with this. I didn't want to go down any smaller, and I could tell just by looking at the green Tosh Merino Light that it was a little thicker than this yarn. And what's funny is that this yarn is actually in Ravelry as a sport weight yarn. It is not a sport weight yarn. Like, I wouldn't even consider it fingering. I think it's finer than fingering. So I ripped this off my needles, and I just chucked it to the side, and I decided to go through my stash and see if I could find something that I would like a little better. And I did. So in my little bin, as you actually don't need a full skein of fingering for the hat, so in my bin of solids that I like to keep for heels and toes of socks, I found some Knit Picks Stroll. And this is in the Sapphire Heather, so it's like a heathered blue. It's very pretty. And I thought this would go nicely with the green, because I decided I was still going to use the Tosh Merino Light mini that I had. And I thought that this would go nicely, because this kind of has some bluish tones in it, and I think it will go nicely. And then also I think this will pop, the birds will pop even more from the background with this. So I started that, and within like 2-3 rows I could already tell such a difference. So this is what I've started here. And can you see how, like, there's my pasty skin again, how it's just, it doesn't have those big loose gaping stitches. It's already so much better. So I'm much happier with this. And I've gotten to the point, so I mentioned a moment ago that the pattern is written for a ribbed brim. And what you're supposed to do is cast on with your contrast color and then start the ribbing with your main color so that you have this little contrast edging. I've decided that I want to do a double brim. I do this a lot on hats. I really like it. I find that it adds extra warmth for your ears, and it's comfortable, and I like how it looks, because ribbing sometimes can look, you know, not great, and I don't like doing twisted rib, and I just decided I was going to do a double brim. So what I did is I cast on, and you can see here that there's like a little gap there. So what I do is I cast on the stitches that the pattern calls for, and then I knit back and forth without joining for like 2 or 3 rows, because then when I go to join, it's so much easier. I don't have to really worry about twisting the stitches. It's very easy to make sure that everything is laying flat. And then I join in the round, and then all I do is I take my little tail, and afterwards I will just sew that closed, and you won't even notice. So to do the double brim, I cast on whatever the pattern says, how many stitches, and then I knit straight for 2 inches. I like a 2-inch brim. And then because this pattern called for a contrast edge, what I did is I brought in my green and I knit a row plain, and then I purled a row, and then I knit another row. And what this purl row does is it creates a very nice edge for when you turn the brim. It's just a very nice straight edge that's not going to flip around. If you remember in, I think it was my first episode where I showed the gelting hat, and I was saying how I didn't like how the brim didn't have like a solid placement, like depending on how I put it on, the brim would move around, and I wished I had done the purl row. This is what it does. So it just makes it so that it's just a nice, firm, very distinct line there. And so I will still have my contrast edging. So that's going to be my brim, and I have finished doing the other 2 inches. So however long this part is here before you do the purl ridge, you just knit the same amount, and then I'm going to bring up that bottom part and then knit it together to create my brim, and then I'll just keep on going. So hopefully next week I might have some color work to show you on this. But yeah, I'm so much happier with this yarn. It's very soft. That was the other issue with the gray yarn that I chose. As I was knitting with it, it just didn't feel very nice in my hands, and then when I took the yarn and I kind of held it up to this part of my face, because the brim is going to go right over you know, your forehead and your ears, which can be a little sensitive. So I took the cake and I was holding it up here, and it didn't feel very nice to me, and I figured, I'm like, you know what, I'm probably not going to wear this if it's going to itch my head, and then if it has like a holy, you know, gauge and all these things, like why go through all this effort if I'm not going to be happy with the end product? So that's why if you ever say it'll be fine, it will not be fine. Fix whatever's bothering you. And I did, and I'm so much happier with it now. And so yeah, next week hopefully I'll have some birds for you. I can't wait to get started with the birds. I have my stitch markers in already. I don't need them in for this part of the pattern, but the designer recommends putting in some stitch markers for the chart motif, which I have here. I can show you a little bit. I won't show you enough to... So she's got it divided. See this little mark there? That she has one of those every 10 stitches, and then I've put a line there with some highlighter just to make it more obvious for me while I'm knitting it. But yeah, I've got my stitch markers in every 10 stitches, so I can just follow along with the chart, and hopefully it will be a nice, pleasant color work experience. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with the floats. One of the reasons that color work knitting isn't my go-to project is I haven't found a way to catch floats that I'm happy with, and that's one of the reasons those stripes and stranded socks were so great, is that all the charts, there was no more than like 3 stitches between colors, so you didn't have to worry about catching anything. With this pattern, there is larger areas where the colors, before you change colors, and I haven't decided whether I'm just going to leave it and not catch the floats because it's a hat and there really isn't anything overly pokey going on up there that's going to get tangled, or if I'm going to try catching the floats. And so I've been looking up different videos on YouTube, trying to find a way that clicks with me and that I will remember how to do, and just that will work with it being a pleasant experience. So we'll see how that goes. I will update you next week if I decide to catch my floats or not. So yeah, that is my first work in progress. And then the next one I have, I spoke last week how I was starting a mystery toy knit-along. I'm not really big on mystery knit-alongs just because a lot of them are shawls and I don't wear shawls, and I have if I do knit a shawl, I have very specific, like a very specific aesthetic for shawls that I like, and you just can't tell with mystery shawls what it's going to be. So, but I am doing a mystery toy knit-along, and I've done one by this designer before. It's by Barbara Prime, who goes by Fuzzy Mitten, and I've started. I have almost my first clue done. I didn't quite finish the first clue. I was hoping to finish the first clue, but I'm almost done. And the second clue has come out, and so I'll be able to get that done. Hopefully I'll have both the first and second clue done for you next week to see, because I have no idea where she's going with this. Now, last week I said I was going to try not to check the thread and just have it be a complete mystery. I'm a big fat liar. Like, I'm such a spoiler junkie that I don't think it was even a full day had passed before I was already in the thread, seeing if anybody had posted any pictures of their progress with the first clue. And part of that was because I couldn't decide on a yarn color. Now, she was saying in the pattern to use like a tan or a brown, and without knowing, it's the same thing when you do shawls, right? Without knowing where these colors are going to go, it's hard to pick which colors you want to use. So I went into the thread just to see a start, like just to give me some indication of what was going on so that I could kind of narrow down my color choices. And I did find that very helpful. Some people did have posts of their start, and I was able to pick a color that I wanted more clearly. And then also just to get an idea of what it was going to start looking like, because I think sometimes, especially with toys, if you don't know what you're making and you're following all this shaping and stuff, you're going to be like, what the heck, right? So I knew what was supposed to happen, and then because of that, I decided to knit my toy, at least this part. I did the first clue. I don't know about the main toy, because if you remember, there's a companion toy and then a main toy. And the first and second clue are for the companion toy. But for at least the companion toy, I've decided to knit it in the round, whereas Barbara usually knits her patterns to be knit flat. So I have mostly my first clue, and I can't decide if it looks creepy or cute. You'll have to tell me. Let me know below, is it creepy or cute? Because at this point, I don't know, is it creepy or cute? Okay, ready? Look at this little guy. Like, what is it? So I've got his little body done, little legs are done, I got his little head done, and then where you see these little stitch markers is where I'm going to, I think I'm going to pick up and knit the arms. I might just knit the arms separately and sew them on. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference in terms of finishing. It might actually be easier to knit them without this thing flapping around on my needles. But I did his little head, and then I've mentioned before with toy knitting how I love how designers include little details that just add something special. And you see how he has little ears? You see the little ears? Those are done with little mini baubles. So like I was knitting along and it was like, make a bauble. I'm like, why am I making a bauble? It's got little ears. Oh, I think they're so cute. The pattern suggests putting a little smile and like a little face. I don't know if I'm going to give him a little face. I think I might just leave him like that. I might finish it and just see what it is. I think based on the second clue, we're adding hair and making a little outfit and adding wings. So I have a feeling it's like a little fairy or something. But then if this is the companion toy and it's a fairy, what would a fairy be a companion to? So I still have no idea what the main toy is going to be if the companion is a fairy. Do you have any ideas? You know, what would a little fairy be a companion to? I don't know. We'll have to think. I should ask Avery. She might have some ideas. But this is most of the first clue. If you imagine him with some little arms, this is the first clue. And I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's going to be fun, and you know, even if Avery doesn't play with it, I'll just put him on my little shelf. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. The yarn I'm using is just a mini that I had in my mini collection for, I think this was also one that I got when the Blinger String group, when we did a mini swap. I think this is a Space Cadet mini. She does like an ongoing mystery or an ongoing mini club. And it does have sparkle in it, but I think if it's a little fairy, that's fine. You can have a sparkly little fairy. So what do you think? Creepy or cute? And what's a fairy a companion to? I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, so that is my second project. Those are my projects for this week. Before I move on to the collection for the shop this week, I think I'm just going to do a quick project recap. So I've mentioned before how I don't show every single project that I'm working on in a month on the podcast because I like to keep the episodes at a reasonable length. So I thought at the end of the month or at the beginning of the next month, I would do like a little project recap and just share all the projects that I finished for that month, and then also what I'm hoping to accomplish for the coming month. So for April, I'm going to pop a picture in here, and these are the projects that I finished in April. You can see the stripes and stranded socks there. They look so much nicer on the feet than on the blockers. And then I got my Desert Vista Dyework socks done. I got the 2 stuffies that I talked about, the Princess Buttercup and the Little Wiener Puppy. And then I also finished some cabled gift socks that will go into my Christmas gift pile, and a bulky cowl. One of the other goals I wanted to get done for April was to finish my gradient bamboo fiber spin, and it is so close to being done. I am so close. I think I have one more chunk of fiber to do on that, and then I'm going to do the beading, and I'm going to really try and do a video of how I do the chained beading, because some people have asked to see that, so I'm going to try. And then the only other thing that I wanted to get done for April was to work more on my atelier sweater. I didn't work on that, and that's fine. You know what? I will finish that as I get to it, and hopefully if I finish it by the end of the year, I will be happy. So that's what I got done in April. Now for May, my goals for May, I just got my little list here. Also, I post this on Instagram if you're interested in seeing it. I do like a recap and a goals kind of thing on Instagram as well. So for May, my goals for May, I want to finish the sock arm sweater that I have showed. I showed progress on the body a few episodes ago. I'm almost to where I can do the neck and the sleeves. I want to finish that this month. I want to finish that gradient spin and do the video. That I want to get done this month. I want to finish my hat, the hat that I showed today, the Passerine hat. I want to finish that. I want to cast on some Lisa Ross socks for the ColorWORK-IT KAL. I really want to do a pair of her socks. I want to start a bulky spin, so as soon as I finish a spin, I try and get the next one going, because I don't spin every day, and I find that I'm more likely to work on a spinning project if I have something on the wheel and ready. So as soon as that gradient spin is done, I'm going to start a bulky spin. And then I also want to cast on, okay, this is a little crazy, but I want to cast on and finish a sweater in May. Now, it's a thicker sweater and it doesn't have sleeves. I think I'll go into more detail. I haven't wanted to start it until after my trunk show at Angie's next weekend, because I'm focused on getting items done for that. But after that trunk show is done, I think I'm going to cast on, and it's going to be like, I'm going to try and just bang out this sweater this month. So I will go into more details about that next week. I want to do that. And then my final goal for May is to finish my May DVD socks. So I don't usually show those because they're just vanilla socks, but I'm trying to do the Desert Vista Dyeworks challenge this year and do a pair of socks in her yarn every month. So I have to get those done. So those are my goals for the month, and you'll see progress on different projects as I go forward. So the only thing that's left is the collection for this week, and last week I showed you a cute giraffe print fabric, and then I showed you a very pretty floral fabric, and everybody voted for the giraffes. I don't think the floral got one vote. So I have the giraffes, I did the collection with the giraffes, and I just love how they turned out. The bags are so cute. So I have the bags, and then I have some yarn that I dyed to go with it. And here is the bag. Isn't this adorable? I love their little faces. I especially love this one, and then this one, how he's just kind of like peeking around. So this is the bag, and I did, the lining is in that same orange that I did the accent with. So those are the bags. I have 3 of these done. And then the yarn, I kind of picked up on the colors in the bag. So I did an aqua base, and then I did all the little speckles to pick up like the oranges and the browns and the greens, and they're just speckled throughout the yarn. So I have 2 skeins, and they're a little different. They're both 75-25. Both yarns are 75-25 wool nylon blend. But this one, I don't know if, yeah, I think you can see. So this one here, see, you can see how the twist is a little more defined. This is a 2-ply, and then this is a 4-ply. So this one would actually be really, really nice for like a shawl where you want more stitch definition, or like if you're doing lace or something. But both are a 75-25 will blend. And I really, really like how those turned out. So those will be in the shop too. And then finally, I have the vote for next week's collection, and this might cause a bit of a battle, I don't know, because the fabrics are very similar in color. It's the theme that's different. I went to Fabricland this week because I've used most of my fabrics for my shows, and I found this one and I just thought they were really cute. So the vote for this week is going to be cats or dogs. So post below in the comments what you think I should work with, dogs or cats. I also got this really cute accent fabric that I think I'm going to do the bottoms of the bags with, little paw prints. So these are going to be adorable bags. Regardless of what's picked, I think they're going to be adorable. And then I will do some yarn picking up on those colors. So those are the choices for this week. Let me know what you want to see. And remember, comments will go towards May's coupon gift draw, and also any orders, you'll get an entry with each item. So that is this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode and the projects that I'm working on. I hope you're having fun with the projects you're working on. Let me know what you're working on. That's it for now. I hope you have a crafty week and you get to make everything you want to make, and I will talk to you soon.